Hi, this is Roxy with Above Paranormal, and I'm here today with special guests. His name is Alex, and he's with Ghost Seekers. We've gone on a couple investigations together. He's also a dear friend of mine, so I would like to introduce you to Alex. And Alex, if you could tell him a little bit about yourself and about Ghost Seekers and what you do.
Yeah, of course. So what we do is basically we like to go out to haunted locations and try to get interviews. I personally like to get interviews because that's, for me, one of the best parts of investigating, because you get another person's side of the story. But in general, I do ghost hunting just because I love to, and I want answers to find out what happens when we die.
When you've done your ghost hunting, what is the strangest thing that has ever happened to you?
One of them was at Woman Hollering Creek, but we'll get back to that later. I would have to say when an old Ghost Seekers member and I went to Devil's Bridge, a friend had passed down these satanic books to me. One of them was a satanic Bible and one of them was a rituals. During the investigation, I read out the invocation to Satan that was directly in the middle of the book, and right after I read it out, there was just silence. Like, you couldn't hear the trees move, no cars were passing by, no wildlife, it was just silent. And Christian goes, "Is everyone okay?" Like, after 5 minutes has passed, we just sat in silence. And as soon as we turned the Ovilus on, we ask, "Who's here with us?" or "What's your name?" And it says Pluto. And that name looked familiar to me, and so I'm going back in the book, and sure enough, on the list of demons, there's Pluto. And I think that was definitely one of the weirdest things that has happened.
It's no relation to Disney at all, right?
Not at all.
So let me ask you a question. What made you want to read the incantation to Satan? What kind of sparked that curiosity in you, or did you just screwing around, or what?
We were just pushing to see what is really out there, and we were just being stupid in general. After editing the video and stuff, we decided to take it down because that's not the kind of content that we wanted to be pushing out for people to see.
You don't think that would be important for people to understand that too, though?
In a way, but take it a safer route.
So to protect other people so they don't do the same thing.
Exactly.
And see what happens to them, kind of like what people do with the Ouija board and things like that. So you wanted to do it to protect people. Well, that makes sense. So after you did the incantation, how did you feel afterwards?
I don't know. There was just so much silence that we couldn't really decide what we were feeling because there was so much going on. It felt like there was anger in the air, there was sadness, happiness. There was just no route to take. In a way, I felt numb during the moment of silence. But everything came back once Christian asked if we were okay.
What happened when he asked if you were okay?
Me and Devin were just like, yeah, we're fine.
Were you?
And then that's when stuff started moving in the woods.
Were you fine?
That I'm aware of.
So after you did this whole investigation, was there anything else that happened to you guys while y'all were out there other than that weird feeling? Because you said other things started going on. What started going on when you were out there?
Like while we were out there, or when we got back?
When you were out there. Because you said it was really weird, it was really quiet, and then you felt all these emotions, and then things just started to happen. Were they happening physically, or were they happening in your mind?
They were happening in the woods with us and through the equipment. They started communicating a lot through the spirit box and the Ovilus.
Can you explain the difference between a spirit box and an Ovilus for our listeners?
Mm-hmm. So a spirit box, when you turn it on, you can flip through different channels of radio frequencies, and spirits can use that to be able to communicate through radio frequencies. And
so kind of like Bumblebee from Transformers?
Yeah. And Ovilus is basically a dictionary for spirits to use to pick words to communicate with us with.
And that's the one that told you Pluto?
Yes. And there's only a certain amount of words that are available in an ovulus. About like 1,000 words, 3,000 words.
Did the spirit box say anything to you?
We didn't get anything through the spirit box. All we got was Pluto. And then everything started happening in the woods.
When you say everything started happening, what exactly happened?
We thought we saw eyes coming out towards us through the woods and the bushes. And then that's when we kind of like stopped the investigation.
Were you uncomfortable or scared?
Yeah, we started getting really uncomfortable after the whole invocation.
What happened when you got home after the investigation? Did things change for you, or was it? Did you feel different, or?
It was almost instant when I got home from the investigation. All the lights were off when I got inside. My parents were upstairs asleep in their room. All the dogs were put up, and as I get inside, I walk up the stairs, and as I'm turning the corner, when I still see the bottom of the stairs and the hallway towards my room, all I see on the bottom of the stairs was a darker than dark figure, just like getting ready to prance up the stairs. And all I saw was the arms getting ready to prance up, and the eyes and the little horns.
So was it like on all four?
It was pretty much on the floor, but getting ready to come up the stairs. And after I saw that, I immediately ran to my room and locked the door, as if that was going to stop it.
I think that's just everybody's instinct. Just lock the door. I don't know what it's going to do, but I'm going to try.
And then, literally, as soon as I shut the door, I just hear to my room.
So you heard him coming up the stairs to your room?
I heard him coming to my room. And after that, I just ran to my bed and didn't go to sleep for the rest of the night. And throughout the rest of the night, I would hear scratching.
So it's just messing with you all night long?
It was messing with me all night long. Not once did I try to communicate with it that night.
Did you get a feeling if it was like...
I felt like it wanted to hurt me that night. Like, I was scared.
Why didn't it? Because it could have easily... I mean, if it's an entity, it was able to follow you all the way from the bridge right back to your home, get into your home. Probably could have opened the door, too, or just gone right through it. Do you feel maybe it was more... Well, at least that's the feeling I get, kind of just tormenting you? Mm-hmm. You know, you wanted to mess around with something, so here you go. You want to play? Let's play.
Pretty much.
Okay. Yeah, so it was hurting you psychologically.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever feel, if you go back and look at this, because I know people have different viewpoints on how they see these entities, did you feel it was masculine, feminine, or neither?
It was very masculine.
Very masculine.
And tall.
Was it ever human?
It didn't look human.
Well, when I say was it ever human, because it's a really interesting question for me. Angels, for example, never human, right? They're celestial beings. I talked to Dark about this on the last pod that we did. There's celestial beings, and then there's earthlings. We're earthlings, right? You, me, the cat, everybody. We're earthlings that have been flesh and blood. So when we cross over, and those that get stuck here or decide to stay here for reasons A, B, or C, we don't know, would you say this thing had never been human? Or what was your feeling on it? Was it celestial, or was it earthling gone bad?
At the time, I thought it was a demon, but sometimes I still feel like if it's like a dark entity or not.
So never human?
I don't think so.
After that happened, obviously now it's in your home. Has it ever tried to communicate with you after that?
I feel like it's tried to multiple times, but it does a very, very poor job of wanting to start. And it just scares me when it tries to communicate, because it either runs up behind me while I'm playing games on my computer, or I'll just hear like creaks by my room.
So earlier you said it scared you. And so now you think it's more wants to communicate with you than anything else? Because if it wanted to hurt you, you'd think it already would have.
Yeah.
So you think it's more of a communication thing?
Maybe.
Or you just have no idea yet?
I honestly have no idea yet.
Besides you, because you mentioned you live in a home with other people that are there with you, including the animals, have you or anyone else been affected inside your home?
Back when I lived at my apartment with Beth, when I had left with the other Ghost Seekers member to Goatman's Bridge in Denton, Texas, when I had gotten back home from that investigation, Beth started having scratches on her body every single morning.
Can you explain to our listeners who Beth is?
Beth is my girlfriend and is now a member of Ghost Seekers.
And does Beth, as a member of Ghost Seekers, does she practice other things with you as well?
She's practicing Wicca. She does her little jars, her protection jars at home.
So she works with Mother Nature a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Beth has had experiences with this too, with the scratches. You know, I've always had a theory on scratches, right or wrong, not sure. I've always felt that entities, either earthlings or celestial beings, either or, when they try to communicate, they vibrate at a different frequency. And it's kind of like if I was to reach out and grab you and say, hey, Alex, and I reach you and grab your arm, I would leave marks on you because I tried to touch you. And I'm not vibrating at the same frequency you are. So it's kind of like touching a hot stove. The stove really doesn't mean to burn you. It just, you came in contact with it. And now you have the marks on you. Did Beth feel like it was something negative that happened to her? Or did she feel it was a communication thing?
She thought it was negative.
Okay.
Even now at the house, still.
Is that out of fear, or is it
She gets kind of scared upstairs in the hallway.
Okay. I wonder if that's the Wiccan in her. You know, that is unsettled by things that haven't.
She doesn't like when the house is totally pitch black.
Has it ever, I guess you mentioned it's physically harmed Beth. Has it ever physically harmed you or anyone else in the house other than Beth?
Not that I can recall. The most I would get on myself is maybe a single scratch. I felt burning.
You did feel burning?
And Beth felt burning as well.
Have you seen or heard or anything else recently since since this experience? How long ago was the experience? And what have you experienced since that? You know, hearing things or feeling things, time frame between point A to point B.
We did this investigation about 3 years ago. The number one thing that happens be like footsteps behind you or seeing shadow figures cross your peripheral vision. But no scratches.
So not like
or
when you
else.
looked down the stairs and you actually saw him coming up at you?
I haven't seen that
Not again.
figure
Now you just
lately.
see it peripheral.
Now I just see him in the peripheral.
Okay. That's very interesting. So it was about 3 years ago. And so it was very intense day one.
Day one was 10.
Day one was 10.
Breaking.
I think that's funny because I probably would have done the same thing, locked my door, and I'd be sitting there going, why'd you
Like
lock
an
your
idiot,
door?
right.
Why'd you lock your door? It's not going to help one bit whatsoever. So has it, since that happened, okay, so you mentioned that you kind of see it and you hear the feet, behind you and things like that. Has it ever spoken to you either out loud or in your head, your sleep, or maybe even in your dreams?
It's mostly been, to me, it feels like it's trying to communicate in my head. Like, again, I'll be playing my games on the computer, and I'll just, out of nowhere, I'll hear something in my head. And in my head, I say hello, and there's no response. And so I just wave it off and then just continue. Out loud, sometimes I get responses come through the spirit box, but not a lot. And it's very faint.
What have you gotten off the spirit box that you can recall?
Deep man's voice, but it's very like faint. It's like this.
Very low.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's interesting. So now that you see it out of your peripheral vision, can you, when you say you kind of see it, how does it show itself to you now, or what does it look like?
It still shows its same terrifying figure.
But you could just see it peripheral now.
He's tall, but he only he hides back behind corners.
Why do you think he would hide?
I don't know.
He's playing the clapping game. He's waiting for you to clap. That's exactly it. Go ahead and clap, see what happens.
Can I get the first clap? All blindfolded.
It's exactly.
Me and my other friend Alex used to play that game at his house. It was scary.
Anytime you're blindfolded and have to go through the dark like that, when I shut my lights off, you were talking about how some people are afraid to be in the dark. I shut all the lights off sometimes when it's like pitch black outside, and I go through the house and I know where things are supposed to be, and I kind of feel my way, and I was like, okay, don't trip on anything, because my dogs are black too. So I kind of like shuffle my feet so I don't like face plant on the floor.
And if you feel something out of place, I
go down the hallways and I just rub my hands like, okay, light switch. That means I got 10 more feet to go to hit the door. And I walk, and I know when I hit the frame of the door, and then I slide my hand over, and I know it's about 12 inches down to the handle. So I kind of like memorized my house. I know how to do that.
I need to do that in case I ever get robbed.
Somewhere where you don't know where you're at. And you didn't know where you were at, and you're in pitch black. And I don't know why I do that. I guess I just practice for the day. I don't know, I had a blinder somewhere where I don't want to be. Who knows?
When I move out and get another apartment, I want to have a pistol in every single room.
What are you going to do, shoot them?
In case I get robbed or someone comes to my house, yeah.
So, when you go back over all this stuff and you think about everything that's happened to you, do you ever, because I know it happens to me sometimes, but do you ever like zone out or have conversations with the entity in your head without really knowing what's going on and trying to figure out what's happening?
I tend to zone out a lot recently when I'm playing games, and it feels like I'm having conversations in my head that sometimes are not me. But I feel like one of them is me trying to communicate to whatever is there, but I can never remember once I zone back in.
Do you ever write when this happens to you? Can you write?
I can write, but I haven't tried that.
I would definitely write. Try to, at least. I don't know, you're younger, you might want to do the keyboard thing. Everything I do has to do... I always have
paper and pen on my desk.
I have to do paper and pen for some reason. I have to see it. I have to feel it.
Mm-hmm.
You just like have to feel the walls.
I'm a hands-on person.
Yeah, I'm the same way. That's what I have to do. There was also, you were mentioning, there was a story you're going to come back to...
Oh, Woman Hauling Creek.
Yeah, Woman Hauling Creek. We're talking about other things that had happened to you, and we can always pick up on later, but I'd like to hear that story too about Woman Hauling Creek.
Yeah. So this was right before we started getting serious with our investigations. We had brought out no equipment when we went here. Before we went to the location, we were originally going to go to an abandoned hospital that was over by Mission Concepcion. But there was a crazy woman right outside, and there was like flashlights coming from outside of the building, so we didn't go. And Devin decides like, hey, let's go to Woman Hauling Creek. And
Devin's part of your Ghost Seeker team, right?
He was, yes. He was Christian's cousin. But we were like, yeah, let's go. I'm down. All we had was our phones, no recording equipment, no cameras, nothing. So me, Christian, and Devin, once we get to Woman Hauling Creek, we sit on a ledge on a road, and water was running under the road. it wasn't at the spot we were at. It was a different spot, but near that. And so we're sitting on the ledge. It's about 5-foot drop to the water. We're just dangling our legs down. We're asking questions, and we did 3 EVP sessions, 10 minutes each. After each one was over, we went back to my car, reviewed them, got a couple of things, went back on the third one. About 6 minutes in, we're just acting normal, completely fine. 6 minutes in, Devin starts asking like provocative questions and provoking, and
the stuff we all learn not to do later.
Yeah. I don't remember the last 2 questions he told me. That's why I always have to go back in the audio. And I just remember waking up, laying down on the dirt road, and I just started crying. And I just remember seeing Christian dolphin diving through my window to get into the car. And we took off. Once we get to a gas station, I asked Christian, like, dude, what the hell happened to me? And he was like, I think you had a possession, dude. And I believe that I had a possession as well. From what he was telling me, as Devin was asking the questions, my body started tensing up and my arms started doing this, leaning towards the road. And Christian grabbed me and tried to shake me, and he turned me to face him, and he said my eyes were just like not there, that it wasn't me. And that's when he threw me to the dirt, and that's when I woke up. And Devin was so confused on what was happening, because he was just asking questions. He wasn't looking over in our direction at the time of what was happening, because he was asking the questions. And so he started freaking out when Christian started freaking out, and then that's when we ran to the car. In that moment, I don't remember anything at all, and I just felt numb, like I couldn't do anything.
Well, advice I would give to all of our listeners that are out there:
not to provoke.
Do not provoke. That is rule number 1. And I think that's what, when you watch TV and what they portray on TV, that's kind of like when you first start out, that's what you think you're supposed to be doing. That's a no-go, people. That is definitely a no-go. I tell you right now, that is the worst thing you could do, because that'd be like somebody just picking on you and picking on you and picking on you. You know what's going to happen? Somebody's going to turn around and punch you in the face. And they don't play fair when they do. So, if you're interested in doing any type of ghost seeking or need any advice on this, y'all can leave your comments below on the channel. And if y'all want more information, how they get a hold of you at Ghost Seekers?
You guys can email me at alexfountain69@icloud.com. You can follow us on Instagram. It's GhostSeekers210.
Yes, that way you can follow him. If you have any questions for Alex, he has a lot of experience at this point, going through everything that he's gone through, and his story goes so much further than this, and I'm really excited to have him come back and tell us a lot more about what he's gone through and some of the other experiences he's had. And we really appreciate you guys being here. Again, this is Roxy from AboveParanormal.com, and you can leave your comments below. We'll definitely be getting back to you, and we look forward to seeing you again on the next podcast. Thank you so much, Alex, and we appreciate you and Ghost Seekers being part of this.
And thank you so much, Roxy, for having me.
Bye.
Bye.